People say marriages collapse in one explosive moment, but mine crumbled in a quiet living room on a Tuesday evening with a sentence so sharp it sliced through 6 years like paper. Before we dive deeper, kindly like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments the type of stories you love on Whispers of African Owls. The ceiling fan hummed lazily above us, pushing warm air in slow circles, the kind that made the house feel heavier than it was. It had been a long day, and I had just returned from work, dust still on my shirt, sweat drying on my neck, when my wife, Clara, dropped the words that would change everything. "Leon," she said, her voice unnervingly calm, "stop interfering with my son. He's not your responsibility." I turned slowly, not sure I heard her right. Ethan, her 12-year-old boy, was right behind her, clutching his school bag with that guilty expression he wore after skipping homework. I wasn't angry at him. Kids make mistakes. That's why adults correct them. But Clara. She stood with this coldness in her eyes I hadn't felt in years. "Clara, I'm not interfering," I said softly. "I was just helping him revise." "No," she snapped. "You always want to act like his father. You're not. So please, stop pretending." Her tone didn't just sting, it echoed. Echoed in a place inside me I had kept locked for years. We had been married for 6 years. 6 years of bills, birthdays, shared laughter, whispered plans for the future. I married Clara when Ethan was 6, and I stepped into the role slowly, carefully. Ethan didn't trust easily. His biological father had vanished before he could even speak properly. But I stayed. I tried. Every single day. Now, the one person I gave everything to stood there telling me I didn't belong. Ethan looked away, his small voice trembling. "Mom, he was just helping me." "Go upstairs," she commanded. When he disappeared into the hallway, I expected the tension to ease. It didn't. Clara folded her arms like she was holding herself together. "I don't like how much influence you want over him," she said. "He's my child. Mine." Something inside me cracked, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet, precise fracture like a hairline crack in glass. But the thing about hairline cracks is this: they always spread. "Clara," I whispered, "what exactly am I in this house, then? A visitor? A roommate? An assistant?" "You're my husband," she replied sharply. "But not his father. Don't overstep." A silence stretched between us. The longest silence in our marriage. I looked around the living room, the photos on the wall, the sofa we bought together, the small cartoon pillow Ethan insisted I put on my side of the couch because dad figures need comfort too. Dad figures. Not fathers. Not anymore. Her words repeated in my mind like a drumbeat. "You're not his father." I thought about all the mornings I woke up early to pack Ethan's lunch. The nights I stayed up helping him practice lines for drama competitions. The hours spent teaching him how to kick a ball properly or how to treat people with kindness. But none of that mattered now. Clara didn't look like the woman I married. Her shoulders were tense. Her voice cold. Her eyes distant. The worst part. She didn't even realize she'd said something unforgivable. "You know what, Clara?" I said, my voice strangely calm. "You're right." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean right?" "I've been doing too much," I replied. "Investing too much. Caring too much. Overstepping, like you said." She frowned. "Leon, don't be dramatic." But this wasn't drama. This was clarity, terrifying, freeing clarity. "I think I need space," I told her. "What? Space? From what?" "From this house. From you. From the version of us that doesn't see me anymore." I didn't say the last 2 parts aloud. Clara laughed nervously. "Leon, stop. Where are you going?" I picked up my keys. "To remember who I am," I answered. "Before I lose the last pieces of myself here." When the door clicked shut, her shocked silence followed me out into the night. The world outside was loud, cars passing, crickets chirping, a distant baby crying. But inside me, only silence. A deep, echoing silence that no one else could hear. I didn't disappear that night. Not fully. But the decision had been planted. A seed of departure. A seed of transformation. And sooner than she expected, it would bloom. People think disappearing begins the moment you leave the house, but mine started in the moment I realized no one would chase me. If this moment touches your heart, kindly like this video and comment I'm following the journey. It helps whispers of African owls grow. The night wrapped around me like an old friend, cool, quiet, unbothered by the storm inside me. I didn't drive anywhere specific. I just drove. Past streetlights, past locked shops, past people returning home to families that perhaps appreciated them better than mine did. After 30 minutes, I parked at Elmwood Bridge. A calm place. A place I used to go before marriage, before responsibility became a weight instead of a blessing. I leaned on the railing and watched the river ripple beneath the moonlight. For the first time in years, I felt alone. Not lonely. Alone. There's a difference. Loneliness is painful. Being alone, that can be healing. After 30 minutes of silence, my phone buzzed. Clara. I didn't pick up. It buzzed again. And again. Then stopped. I waited to see if she would text something emotional, something apologetic, something honest that would show she realized she had crossed a line. But nothing came. Instead, she sent one simple message. Come home. Let's talk. Not please. Not I'm sorry. Not I didn't mean it. Just an instruction. A command. A reminder of the authority she believed she held over me. I turned the phone over on the railing and looked back at the water. A man could drown in a river like this and no one would know until morning. Not because no one cared, but because no one noticed the signs until it was too late. I wasn't going home. Not yet. I called my old friend, Marcus, who lived on the outskirts of town. When he answered, half asleep, I said only 7 words. Brother, I need a place to breathe. And without hesitation he responded. Doors open. I arrived at his house 15 minutes later. The porch light was on, illuminating the worn welcome mat and the plants he kept forgetting to water. Marcus opened the door, hair messy, wearing an oversized t-shirt. He studied my face for 3 seconds and nodded slowly. It happened, didn't it? I sat on his couch, and for 2 full minutes I couldn't speak. The words were heavy, swollen with hurt. Finally, I whispered. She said I'm not Ethan's father. Marcus didn't react dramatically. He didn't gasp or curse or shout. He simply sat beside me, clasped his hands together, and whispered. After everything you've done, she said that. I nodded. He exhaled, long and slow. Leon, listen to me. You've been fading for years. You just didn't see it. I frowned. What do you mean fading? You used to have spark, he said. Used to laugh. Used to have dreams outside the house. Used to live. Now, you barely exist outside that marriage. I opened my mouth to argue but stopped. He was right. The Leon before marriage wrote music, played guitar, hiked on weekends, had ambition, had color. Somewhere along the way, Clara became my only definition, and Ethan became my only purpose. Marcus leaned forward. You love that boy. That's not the problem. The problem is that your wife stopped appreciating the way you loved him. Silence settled again. Then he added something that hit harder than Clara's words earlier. Brother, sometimes the cage is comfortable enough that you forget it's a cage. I looked at him sharply. A cage. Was my marriage a cage? Not always. But lately, maybe. I slept in his guest room that night, if sleeping could even describe the restless tossing and staring at the ceiling. Around 3 a.m., I sat up, grabbed my phone, and opened my gallery. Pictures of Ethan smiling beside me. Birthday cakes. Soccer games. Family outings. My throat tightened. Leaving would break him. Staying would break me. Which fate was I supposed to choose? At 4:17 a.m., exhaustion pulled me under. And somewhere between drifting and waking, I whispered the words I didn't have the courage to say earlier. I think I need to disappear. Not forever, but long enough to remember the man I lost. Little did I know. Disappearing would lead me to a version of myself Clara never believed existed. And one day, That version of me would walk right past her. Unrecognizable, unstoppable, untouchable. People think the world freezes when you walk away, but the painful truth is this: the house goes on exactly as you left it, until the cracks finally echo your absence. If you're feeling this story in your chest, kindly like this video and subscribe. Comment "I'm following every chapter so I know you're on this journey with me." Morning crept into Clara's house like a stubborn shadow, the kind that refuses to leave no matter how brightly the sun shines. But the brightness didn't matter. What mattered was the empty side of the bed. Clara reached across the sheets instinctively, expecting warmth, expecting my arm, expecting my steady breathing. But the bed was cold. Colder than she expected. Colder than she understood. Colder than the night she created. A frown crossed her face. She checked her phone. No missed calls. No messages. The last one she sent, a blunt "come home. Let's talk." Still sat there, unread. She swallowed. Hard. Then Ethan appeared at the bedroom doorway, rubbing his eyes, his hair messy. "Mom, where's Leon?" She hesitated. It was the first crack. "He stepped out," she said weakly. "Since last night." Her throat tightened. "He needed some air." Ethan's brows knitted. "Did he leave because of me?" Clara flinched. Her heart thudded painfully. "No. No, sweetheart. It wasn't you." But the guilt was already lodged in his eyes. Downstairs, breakfast sat untouched on the counter. Ethan looked at the table and murmured, "He always makes scrambled eggs on Thursdays." Clara froze. Thursday. Leon's morning ritual. She looked around the kitchen, every familiar thing now haunting her. The apron he loved. The mug he used. The cutting board still slightly damp from last night. Her hand shook as she picked up her phone and called again. Straight to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. She didn't know what to say. Instead, she called her sister, Amy. "He left." The words came out smaller than she expected. "Clara, slow down. Who left?" "Leon. He didn't come home." Amy sighed on the other end. "Clara, what happened this time?" Clara hesitated. "I told him he wasn't Ethan's father." Silence. Then a sharp exhale. "Clara, why would you say that to him?" "I didn't mean it the way it sounded." "But that's how he heard it." Clara's eyes filled. "Amy, you don't understand. I was stressed. He's been strict with Ethan lately, and he's been raising your son for 6 years." Clara sank into a chair. "Do you think he's gone for good?" "I think," Amy said gently, "you finally pushed him far enough that he didn't look back." The words stabbed. Deep. Hours passed without a word from me. Afternoon turned to evening. Evening turned to night. Ethan sat by the living room window, checking every pair of headlights. Clara paced the hallway. Called again. Texted. Waited. Still no message. Still no me. Then, something unexpected happened. A knock. Not from me. From the landlord. When Clara opened the door, he asked casually, "Has Leon spoken to you about renewing the lease?" The question stunned her. "What lease?" "The apartment he rented 2 weeks ago," the landlord replied. Her breath caught. "Wait, what apartment?" The landlord frowned. "He didn't tell you?" "No, I didn't. I had signed the lease in silence. Prepared in silence. Planned my exit in silence, long before she ever realized she pushed me away." Clara closed the door shakily. Her chest tightened painfully as the truth settled. I hadn't walked out impulsively. I had been preparing to leave. And she hadn't noticed. She sank onto the staircase, burying her face in her hands. For the first time in 6 years. Clara cried because she realized she didn't know her husband anymore. And even worse. She realized she didn't deserve to. It wasn't anger that made me leave. It was the realization that I had nowhere left to grow in a garden she refused to water. If this story pulls you deeper, kindly like this video and comment Chapter 4 hit me hard. Your engagement helps Whispers of African Owls reach more hearts. My new apartment was small, but it was mine. A single bed. A desk. A window overlooking the quiet neighborhood. No pictures on the wall. No memories haunting the corners. Just space. Breathing space. Marcus helped me move in the next morning. He dropped my last box on the floor and looked around. "It's simple," he said. "That's exactly what I want," I replied. He studied me for a moment. "So, what now?" I didn't know. Or at least, I thought I didn't. But that night, sitting at the edge of my new bed, something inside me awakened. A hunger. A spark. A familiar echo from the version of Leon I used to be before marriage drained pieces of me like slow leaking water. I opened my laptop. Went through old files. Old dreams. Projects I never finished because life became too heavy. One folder stood out. LYRA Designs, Drafts. I clicked it. Dozens of sketches, ideas for architectural models, designs I had created before marriage. Back when I wanted to start a firm. Back when ambition wasn't something I apologized for. A fire lit in my chest. Maybe disappearing wasn't running away. Maybe it was returning to purpose. I spent hours refining old sketches, expanding them, polishing them. When the sun rose, I had a prototype ready. A model I believed in. Something that reminded me. I still had potential. I still had worth. I still had dreams. That week, Marcus introduced me to a man named Raymond, an investor looking for new designers for a community project. They asked if I had anything prepared. I did. Exactly one thing. They studied my designs for a long, excruciating 10 minutes. Then Raymond looked up and said, "Leon, where have you been hiding?" "Hurt," I answered honestly. He nodded, understanding more than I explained. "Do you want back your life?" he asked. I inhaled slowly. "More than ever." "Then let's build something." Just like that. The seed of my new life sprouted. Weeks passed. Clara didn't know. No one knew. My design became the foundation of an entire architectural project. I worked long hours, regained energy, regained clarity, regained confidence. The team admired my creativity. They valued my ideas. Every day, I felt more like myself. But the biggest shift happened late one evening. While reviewing plans at the site, Raymond clapped my shoulder and said, "You're going to be the face of this project, Leon." The face. Yes. You speak with sincerity. You lead with quiet confidence. People need to see that. It was strange hearing those words. Years of being belittled had made me forget that I once had presence. That I once had leadership. That I once had purpose. Raymond smirked. "Trust me. A year from now, people won't recognize the man you used to be." I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I had been holding for years. He was right. This wasn't just a new chapter. It was a rebirth. A shedding of the old skin. A transformation into someone Clara never believed I could become. I wasn't coming back. Not as the same man. Not ever. And when Clara eventually saw me again, she wouldn't be able to deny the truth. I didn't disappear to escape. I disappeared to evolve. Some reunions are quiet, not because there are no words, but because the truth becomes louder than anything you can say. If this is getting more deep and interesting, kindly like this video and comment "I felt that." It helps this story reach the right people. The day Clara saw me again came far sooner than I expected, and in a way neither of us could have predicted. Raymond had arranged a presentation for the city council. A proposal for a new community center. We arrived early, setting up materials. I wore a fitted suit, something I rarely wore during the slump of my marriage, clean-cut, confident, standing taller than before. While reviewing the slides, I heard the door open behind us. Council members entered one by one. I kept my focus forward, until a voice I hadn't heard in weeks froze my entire body. "Good afternoon, sorry I'm late." "Clara." My heart sank, then steadied. I turned slowly. She stopped mid-step. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted. Her breath hitched. She looked like she had seen a ghost. No, not a ghost. A version of me she never imagined. I didn't rush to greet her. I didn't look away. I simply nodded. "Hello, Clara." Her mouth moved but no words came. She stared at my suit, my posture, the confidence radiating off me. She wasn't looking at the husband she dismissed. She was looking at the man she underestimated. You look different," she finally whispered. I offered a polite, distant smile. "I feel different." Raymond approached and shook my hand. "Ready, Leon? They're waiting for you." Clara blinked. "You're presenting?" "Yes," I replied. "I'm leading the project." Her eyes darkened with realization. "You're the architect?" "The lead architect." She inhaled sharply. Shock, regret, pain, all flashing across her face in seconds. I walked past her with calm, steady steps. Not out of pride, but out of peace. When I stood before the council and began my presentation, my voice carried across the room with clarity and purpose. I explained the design, the concept, the vision. I spoke like a man who had rebuilt himself piece by piece from the ashes of who he used to be. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Clara watching. Not with anger, not with entitlement, but with heartbreaking recognition. Recognition of everything she lost. Recognition of everything she didn't nurture. Recognition that the man before her was no longer hers. When the presentation ended, the room applauded. Raymond clapped the loudest. Even the mayor nodded approvingly. Then Clara whispered, barely audible, "Leon, can we talk?" I met her eyes calmly. "There's nothing to talk about," I said softly. "Not anymore." Because the truth was simple. She didn't just lose her husband. She lost the man he became without her. People assume it's the disappearance that hurts the most, but no, it's the moment you finally search for someone and realize they stopped waiting to be found. If you're deep into this story, kindly like this video and comment "Still here" to support Whispers of African Owls. Clara didn't go home after the council presentation. She simply sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel with trembling hands, replaying the image of me on that stage, confident, composed, transformed. It didn't make sense to her. Not the suit. Not the posture. Not the authority in my voice. Not the respect others gave me. For 6 years, she saw me as predictable, harmless, stable but unremarkable. A man she could lean on, but never look up to. But the man she saw today, she didn't recognize him. Her heart twisted painfully. She started the engine and drove, not home, but to the one place she hoped she'd find answers. Marcus's house. When he opened the door, he looked annoyed and tired. "Clara." She swallowed. "Is Leon here?" "No." "Has he been here?" Marcus crossed his arms. "Why?" Her voice cracked. "Please. I need to know where he lives." Marcus didn't answer. Clara stepped forward, desperation leaking through her composure. "Marcus, I'm not trying to hurt him. I just want to talk." He stared at her for a long moment before saying, "Talk? Clara, you've been talking at him for years. You never listened." She blinked rapidly. "What do you mean?" "You pushed him so hard he stopped hearing you," Marcus said. "Stopped believing you. Stopped feeling anything except exhaustion." Clara felt the words like punches. Marcus sighed. He needed space. "So he moved out," she whispered. "Yes." "Where?" "I can't tell you that." Clara's lips trembled. "Marcus, I'm his wife." He shook his head slowly. "You were his wife. But you haven't been his partner for a long time." Her throat tightened. "Please." The silence stretched. Finally, Marcus relented, not completely, but enough to pierce the fog. "Clara," he said gently, "Leon doesn't hate you. He just started choosing himself." Her breath hitched. Choosing himself. A concept she never thought Leon capable of. Because she had convinced herself she was the only one allowed to choose first. "Was he unhappy?" she asked. Marcus looked away. "That's the saddest part," he murmured. He wasn't unhappy. He was just fading. And you didn't see it. Her knees weakened. Do you know what he told me the night he left? Marcus continued. Clara shook her head, tears forming. He said, I think I'm becoming someone I won't respect in a few years. The tears spilled over. He felt small, Clara, Marcus said. And you, without meaning to, kept him small. She covered her face. Marcus stepped aside. Come in. Clara entered the house slowly. Marcus walked to a drawer and retrieved something, a small envelope. He forgot this the night he stayed here, Marcus said. I was going to return it. Maybe you should see it. Clara's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside were sketches. Beautiful sketches. Architectural drawings. Dreams on paper. Talent she didn't know he had. Page after page, her tears fell harder. She whispered, He drew all this. He's been drawing for years, Marcus said. But he hid it. Not because you told him to, but because he needed a certain kind of peace to create, and your house was never peaceful. Clara sank into the couch, her heart shattering. She had spent so long telling Leon what he wasn't, that she never saw what he was. A creator, a visionary, a builder, someone destined for more than the four walls she trapped him in. And the worst part, he had grown more in a few weeks without her than in 6 years beside her. Some homes are built with bricks. Others are built with wounds that finally learned how to harden into strength. 3 months passed. 3 months of silence. 3 months of healing. 3 months of rebuilding, inside and out. Leon, the version of me Clara once knew, no longer existed. In his place stood someone new. A man with boundaries. With direction. With purpose. The architectural project I spearheaded became bigger than anyone expected. Investors joined. The city promoted it. Articles were written about the rising architect with quiet fire. But the biggest shift came the day the project's first building was completed. A community home. A sanctuary. A symbol of renewal. People called it the Haven. When we unveiled the plaque on opening day, the mayor read it aloud. Designed by Leon Carver. For those who needed a place to breathe again. Clara was there. She didn't come for attention. She stood at the back of the crowd, hands clasped, eyes fixed on me like she was seeing a stranger wearing her husband's face. The applause rose. Cameras flashed. Hands shook mine. And Clara remained frozen. Watching. Realizing everything she once took for granted had become everything the world now admired. When the ceremony ended, she took a hesitant step toward me. Leon, she whispered. I turned. Her voice cracked. Did you build all of this? Yes. Without me, she choked. Yes. Her shoulders sagged under the weight of that single syllable. She swallowed hard. Where did you find the strength? My answer was simple. Outside the life where I kept losing it. Her breath trembled. I added softly, Clara, you didn't break me. You just pushed me into the version of myself I always needed to become. Her tears fell freely. I didn't wipe them this time. Because this wasn't a moment of pain. It was a moment of recognition. Recognition that the man she tried to keep small had outgrown her shadow. Apologies always come late, but true regret? That only arrives when time has already taken what you thought you'd never lose. If you're still with this story, kindly like this video and comment I'm here till the end. It keeps whispers of African owls alive. Clara showed up at my apartment door on a rainy evening. Not dressed to impress. Not confident. Not composed. She looked small. Human. Changed. Her eyes were swollen, her hair damp from rain. She held a small bag in her hand, Ethan's drawings, I would later learn. Leon, she whispered. Please, can I come in? I hesitated. Not out of anger. But because this door, the physical and emotional one, was not one I could open lightly anymore. After a long moment, I stepped aside. She entered slowly, looking around the apartment as if it were a museum of a life she had never explored. It's nice, she said weakly. It's peaceful, I corrected. She nodded, tears forming. I came, because I need to tell you the truth, she said, voice trembling. Not the angry version. Not the defensive version. The real one. I waited. I was scared of losing control, she whispered. Scared of being replaced. Scared of not being enough. And instead of dealing with that fear, I took it out on the one person who loved me most. I stayed silent. I pushed you away because loving you meant facing my own insecurities, and I wasn't strong enough. The rain tapped softly against the windows. She reached into the bag and handed me a drawing. It was Ethan's. A picture of him, me, and Clara holding hands in front of the old house. He had drawn a broken heart above us. He cries at night, Clara said quietly. He thinks you left because he failed you. Because he wasn't enough. My chest tightened painfully. Leon, she sobbed, I wasn't angry that you corrected him. I was angry that you were better for him than I was. I closed my eyes. Clara continued, each word shaking. I'm sorry. For everything. For the way I spoke. For the things I didn't see. For not protecting the love you gave us. For taking your presence for granted. For loving you only in my comfort and hurting you in my insecurity. For the first time, I saw not the woman who wounded me, but the woman who was finally breaking open. But forgiveness doesn't undo distance. Doesn't rewind time. Doesn't rebuild what wasn't nurtured. Clara, I said gently, I forgive you. She sobbed harder. But forgiveness, I added softly, doesn't mean returning to the place I found myself in. Her face fell. But I want you in my life, she whispered. I shook my head slowly. You want the man I was. But that man is gone. And the man I am now isn't built to fit the version of us we used to be. She cried quietly into her hands. I didn't hold her. Not because I didn't care, but because caring finally meant not carrying her anymore. People think heartbreak is loud, shouting, breaking, slamming doors. No. The real heartbreak is quiet. It's the whisper in your chest when you finally accept that some love stories don't get second chances. If you're still following this journey, kindly like this video and comment Chapter 9 landed. Your engagement keeps Whispers of African Owls growing. Days passed after Clara's visit. She didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up again. She understood, finally, that this wasn't something she could fix with appearances, panic, or pressure. She had triggered the unraveling, but she couldn't stop the transformation. And I found myself in the middle of two worlds. One where Clara still held emotional memories. Another where I was discovering life beyond the weight of her words. But everything came crashing together the day Ethan found me. It was a Saturday morning. I was at the Haven, walking through one of the completed halls, checking the installations. Children were playing outside, running along the fresh paint and polished floors. Then I heard a voice I knew instantly. Leon. I froze. Slowly, I turned. Ethan stood there, taller since I last saw him, wearing a navy blue hoodie, his hands gripping the straps of his backpack. His eyes were glossy, pleading, hopeful. Behind him stood Clara, farther back than I expected, giving him space. Her eyes met mine, but she didn't step forward. Only Ethan did. Is it really you? He whispered. My voice cracked. Yes, it's me. He breathed out shakily and rushed into me, wrapping his arms around my waist. The force of it nearly knocked the air from my lungs. I held him, instinctively, protectively, because some bonds remain even when marriage doesn't. I thought you left because of me, he sobbed. No, I whispered into his hair. Never because of you. But Mom said, she said things got hard and you needed space. I thought it was my fault. I thought you didn't want to be around me anymore. My chest tightened painfully. I knelt and held his shoulders gently. Listen to me, nothing you ever did pushed me away. I left because I was losing myself. It had nothing to do with you. You're a good kid, Ethan. A wonderful kid. And I love you. His face crumpled. Then come home. The words stabbed deep. Behind him, Clara looked at the ground. She knew what his question meant. She knew what the answer would be. I swallowed hard. I can't go back. Why? He whispered. Because the home we had wasn't good for me. And I need to be healthy to be someone you can look up to. He wiped his eyes. But can we still see each other? Clara stepped forward slowly, voice trembling. Leon, he asks for you every night. I kept my gaze on Ethan. Yes. You can see me. Whenever you want. This place, the Haven, it's for everyone. You're always welcome here. Relief softened his face. But Clara looked shattered. Not just heartbroken, but understanding, finally, of the consequences. She approached slowly. Leon, I know I can't undo anything. I know I can't fix what I broke. But thank you for not abandoning him. For not abandoning the parts of you that still love. I nodded slightly. He's not the reason I left. And I'm the reason you won't return, she whispered. Her honesty didn't sting, it quieted something in me. I stood. Clara, our story is ending. But that doesn't mean everything we shared was a mistake. It simply means we outgrew who we were together. She nodded, tears slipping down. For the first time in months, she didn't argue. Didn't beg. Didn't negotiate. She accepted. Can I ask you one thing? She whispered. Yes. When you walked away, did you still love me? I inhaled slowly. Yes. But I loved myself less. And when the scales tipped too far, I had to choose me. Her shoulders shook. Ethan held her hand. And in that moment, we weren't enemies. We weren't lovers. We weren't husband and wife. We were just three people standing at the crossroads of a life that could no longer continue in the same direction. In the quiet that followed, she whispered, Goodbye, Leon. I nodded softly. Goodbye, Clara. And that was the moment. The exact moment. Where all the love, pain, memories, years, and echoes finally settled into peace. Real peace. Healing doesn't begin when someone apologizes, it begins when you finally stop waiting for them to. Weeks turned into months. The Haven flourished, families, children, artists, dreamers all filled the halls. The project expanded into 2 additional buildings. Investors poured in. My name circulated in professional circles. A quiet respect followed me wherever I went. Life felt lighter. One late afternoon, I stood on the rooftop of the 2nd building, watching the city skyline glow beneath the setting sun. Orange hues brushed the rooftops, birds cut across the sky, and the world felt still in the most comforting way. A soft voice pulled me from my thoughts. Beautiful view. I turned and smiled. It was Miriam, one of the project coordinators. Kind-hearted, sharp-witted, gentle. She stood beside me, holding 2 cups of tea. You've been up here for hours. I'm thinking, I replied. Should I be worried? She teased. No, I said softly. Just reflecting. She nodded, sipping her tea. You know, I've watched you transform over the months. You carry a softness people don't see at first. But underneath it is so much strength. I chuckled lightly. I didn't always feel strong. That's usually when we're strongest, she murmured. A comfortable silence settled between us. Down below, children laughed. Workers packed tools. The world moved on. Does it still hurt? She asked gently. I thought about Clara. About Ethan. About everything that was lost, and everything that was built. A little, I admitted. But not in a way that weighs me down. More like a memory of someone I used to be. Then you've healed, she said. I smiled. I think I have. She placed the cup beside me. You know, people will come and go. But the ones who walk away, sometimes they leave space for the ones who are meant to arrive. Her eyes held mine, not with pressure, not with expectation, but with possibility. A gentle, quiet possibility. Maybe, I whispered. Maybe, she echoed. The sun dipped lower. The sky softened. For the first time in a very long time, I felt peace. Not the kind you chase, Not the kind you beg for. Not the kind you build inside someone else's home. A peace born from choosing myself. From trusting the silence. From accepting the endings that hurt but free us. I looked at the horizon, and the words settled in my chest with truth. Some love stories end. But some lives begin because they did. I took a slow breath. And whispered to myself, I'm home. If this story touched your heart, kindly like this video, subscribe to Whispers of African Owls, and comment the kind of stories you'd love to hear next. Your engagement helps this channel reach more hearts that need these stories.